They're too wild, even for the zoo, my sister-in-law, Amanda, smirked, adjusting her designer sunglasses while delivering the news that my children weren't welcome on the annual family zoo trip. We want this to be a peaceful, educational experience for the well-behaved children. Let me start by explaining why this particular exclusion cuts so deep. I'm Emma, mother of 7-year-old twins Oliver and Sophie. For the past 5 years, since marrying into the Wilson family, I've watched my sister-in-law Amanda orchestrate one family event after another, each time finding new ways to exclude my children while making sure her perfect kids were always front and center. I stood in Amanda's immaculate kitchen, still clutching the permission slips I'd just picked up from the twins' school for the zoo trip. My children had been counting down the days, making lists of all the animals they wanted to see. Sophie had even been practicing her drawing skills to create a zoo journal. The twins have been looking forward to this for months, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside me. They've never caused any problems on family outings. Amanda rolled her eyes, the gesture so familiar it made my teeth clench. Oh please, have you forgotten the disaster at the aquarium last year? You mean when your Aiden pushed that little girl into the touch pool and my Sophie helped her up? She waved her hand dismissively. That's not how I remember it. Besides, this is different. We've hired a private tour guide. Very expensive, very exclusive. We can't have any disruptions. By disruptions, I knew exactly what she meant. While her children, Aiden and Madison, paraded around in matching designer outfits, my twins preferred comfortable clothes that could handle their enthusiastic exploration of the world. Where her kids posed perfectly for social media photos, mine were more interested in actually learning about their surroundings. Mom's already agreed. Amanda continued, a smug smile playing on her lips. She thinks it's best if you sit this one out. Maybe take them to the petting zoo instead. That seems more their speed. The condescension in her voice made my blood boil, but years of dealing with Amanda had taught me to play the long game. I smiled, gathering my things. You're right, Amanda. The twins and I will make other plans. Her expression faltered slightly. She'd clearly been expecting an argument. I'd given her those before, playing right into her hands as she painted me as the unstable, confrontational one. Not this time. As I drove home, my mind was already working on a plan. The twins' father, my husband Mark, was away on a business trip, conveniently missing another of his sister's power plays. But I had something Amanda didn't know about, a connection at the zoo. My college roommate Jessica had worked her way up to head of educational programs at the city zoo. We kept in touch over the years, and she'd been wanting to meet the twins ever since hearing about their passion for animals. One phone call later, and pieces started falling into place. The private tour guide they requested just called in sick, Jessica told me, and I could hear the smile in her voice. I'll have to lead the tour myself. And Emma, I think it's time we launch that new educational program we've been discussing, the one about empathy and animal conservation, aimed at young children. That evening, I sat the twins down to break the news about the family zoo trip. Their faces fell exactly as I'd expected, but I had a surprise ready. How would you two like to be part of something even more special? I asked, pulling out the junior zoo guide badges Jessica had dropped off. You're going to help create a whole new program for kids to learn about animals. Their eyes lit up as I explained how they get to arrive early, learn about the animals from the experts, and help other children understand conservation. What I didn't tell them was that their special program would coincide exactly with Amanda's exclusive family tour. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about confrontation. It's about creating something better than what you've been excluded from. As I watched Oliver and Sophie pore over their animal fact books that evening, preparing for their special role, I knew this time would be different. Little did Amanda know, but her perfectly planned zoo trip was about to become a very different kind of animal adventure. The twins and I had been pushed aside one too many times, and this time, we weren't just going to accept it, we were going to thrive despite it. The morning of the zoo trip arrived bright and clear. I helped the twins into their new junior zoo guide uniforms. Khaki shirts with official badges, complete with little notebooks for their observations. Jessica had gone above and beyond, even providing them with child-sized binoculars and safari hats. Remember, I told them as we drove to the zoo an hour before the family was scheduled to arrive. Today, you're not just visitors, you're helping other children learn about the animals. We met Jessica at the staff entrance, where she immediately knelt down to the twins' level. Are my new junior guides ready? she asked, her enthusiasm genuine. Oliver and Sophie nodded eagerly, already pulling out their notebooks. As Jessica led us through the behind-the-scenes areas, teaching the twins about animal care and conservation, I caught glimpses of the other zoo staff watching with warm smiles. This wasn't just for show. My children were genuinely learning and engaging with everything around them. Around 10 a.m., I spotted Amanda's luxury SUV pulling into the parking lot. Through the staff area's one-way windows, I watched as she herded her perfectly coordinated family toward the entrance, her children, Aiden and Madison, already looking bored as they stared at their phones. Mrs. Wilson, a staff member, approached Amanda's group. "I'm afraid there's been a slight change of plans. Your private tour guide is ill, but our head of educational programs will be leading your tour personally." Amanda's face lit up at the perceived upgrade. "Oh, how wonderful. You see, Mom," she said to my mother-in-law, "I told you this exclusive tour was worth the extra money." Jessica stepped forward to greet them, professionally dressed and carrying her tablet. "Welcome to our special conservation tour. Today, we're trying something new. We'll be joined by our junior zoo guides, who'll be helping educate young visitors about animal preservation." Before Amanda could protest, Oliver and Sophie emerged from behind a display, looking official in their uniforms. The look on Amanda's face was priceless, a mix of shock, anger, and the dawning realization that she couldn't make a scene without ruining her perfect family image. "What are they doing here?" she hissed at me as I walked up. "This was supposed to be a private tour." "Oh, did you know?" I replied innocently. "The zoo's new educational program starts today. The twins were specially selected to help launch it." Our mother-in-law, usually Amanda's strongest ally, was already being charmed by Sophie's detailed explanation of penguin habits. Even Aiden and Madison had put down their phones, curious about their cousins' official-looking uniforms and equipment. The tour began, but it was nothing like Amanda had planned. Instead of her orchestrated photo opportunities, the focus was on actual learning. Oliver and Sophie took their roles seriously, sharing facts they'd studied and helping their cousins spot interesting animal behaviors. "Did you know that giraffes have the same number of neck vertebrae as humans?" Sophie explained to Madison, who was actually taking notes. "They're just much bigger. And look how the lions communicate with their tails." Oliver showed Aiden how to use the binoculars properly. "The position tells you what they're feeling." Amanda tried several times to redirect attention to her planned activities, but her own children were too engaged in their cousin's enthusiasm. When Aiden asked if he could borrow Oliver's notebook to write down facts about elephants, I thought Amanda might explode. The security cameras positioned throughout the zoo captured everything, from Amanda's attempts to edge the twins out of photos to her increasingly frustrated efforts to regain control of the narrative. But they also captured something else: natural, unscripted moments of children learning and enjoying themselves together. "Your children," my mother-in-law said during a break, watching as all 4 kids clustered around a zookeeper giving an impromptu lesson about reptiles. "They really know their stuff." I had no idea they were so knowledgeable. "They love animals," I replied simply. "They just needed a chance to show it." The turning point came at the primate exhibit. While Amanda was trying to arrange her children for yet another perfect photo, Aiden spotted a baby orangutan doing something interesting. In his excitement to show Oliver, he knocked over Madison's drink, spilling it all over Amanda's designer shoes. "This is exactly why I didn't want them here," Amanda snapped, gesturing at my twins, though they'd had nothing to do with the accident. "They're encouraging this wild behavior." Jessica, who had been quietly observing all morning, stepped forward. "Actually, Mrs. Wilson, I've been documenting today's interactions for our new program evaluation. Would you like to see the footage?" She pulled up her tablet, showing clips from the security cameras. There were my twins, calmly and professionally sharing their knowledge, and there was Amanda, making multiple attempts to create artificial moments while disrupting actual learning taking place. "The children are all doing wonderfully," Jessica continued professionally. "In fact, this natural interaction between cousins is exactly what we hope to encourage in our new program. Your nephew and niece have been exemplary guides." Amanda's face flushed red as she realized how her behavior would look if Jessica's program evaluation were to become public. The perfect family image she worked so hard to maintain was crumbling, and there wasn't a thing she could do about it. The rest of the tour continued without incident, though Amanda remained suspiciously quiet. By the end, even she couldn't deny that her children had learned more and enjoyed themselves more than they would have during her planned photo shoot tour. As we prepared to leave, Madison tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mom, can we come back next week when Oliver and Sophie are doing their guy thing again? I want to learn more about the penguins." Amanda's tight smile said everything. Her perfect plan had backfired spectacularly, and now her own children were asking to spend more time with their supposedly disruptive cousins. The aftermath of the zoo trip rippled through the family like waves in a pond. That evening, my phone buzzed repeatedly with messages, not from Amanda, but from other family members who had seen the photos Madison had posted online. Not the staged portraits Amanda had planned, but candid shots of all 4 children engaged in learning, the twins in their official uniforms proudly sharing their knowledge. "Oliver and Sophie are junior zoo guides. That's incredible," texted my cousin-in-law. "My kids would love that program." Even Mark, calling from his business trip, was amazed by the videos Madison had shared in the family group chat. "Honey, the twins look so professional. Why didn't Amanda tell me about this program?" "Oh, you know how last minute these things can be," I replied innocently, letting him draw his own conclusions. The real shock came 3 days later during our weekly family dinner. Amanda arrived last, unusually subdued. Throughout the meal, she kept glancing at her phone, frowning at whatever she was seeing. Finally, she cleared her throat. "So, apparently, the zoo's new educational program is going viral on social media. They're featuring Oliver and Sophie in their promotional materials." I took a sip of water to hide my smile. Jessica had mentioned the zoo's marketing team was thrilled with the natural interactions they had captured between the children. "The waiting list for the junior guide program is already full through summer," Amanda continued, her voice strained. "Madison's been begging to sign up." My mother-in-law, who had been unusually quiet since the zoo trip, spoke up. "Well, perhaps if you asked Emma nicely, the twins could help Madison prepare. They clearly know so much about the animals." The look on Amanda's face was priceless, a mixture of frustration and resignation. Her perfect plan to exclude my children had instead turned them into local celebrities of sorts, admired for exactly the qualities she had tried to dismiss. That weekend, Jessica sent me the official tour guide's report she had compiled, complete with time-stamped security footage. "For your records," her note read, "just in case anyone ever questions who really caused disruptions that day." But the real victory wasn't in having ammunition against Amanda's future schemes. It was in watching how the dynamics had shifted. The twins' cousins now looked up to them as experts. Other parents at school asked about the zoo program, and most importantly, Oliver and Sophie had grown more confident, realizing that being different from their cousins wasn't a flaw. It was their strength. A month later, the zoo launched its expanded educational program. Amanda showed up at the opening day ceremony, perfectly coiffed as always, with an obviously rehearsed speech about how proud she was of her niece and nephew. The twins, too busy helping younger children learn about conservation, barely noticed her performance. "You know," my mother-in-law said, watching Oliver patiently explain animal tracks to a group of fascinated kindergartners, "I've been thinking about all the family events we've had over the years. Perhaps we've been focusing on the wrong things." I squeezed her hand gently. It's never too late to make changes. That evening, as I helped the twins pack up their guide gear, Sophie looked up at me thoughtfully. "Mom, do you think Aunt Amanda is still mad we came to the zoo that day?" I knelt down to her level. "Sometimes, sweetheart, people get upset when things don't go exactly as they planned. But sometimes that's how we discover something even better. Like how Madison and Aiden are our friends now." Oliver chimed in. "Exactly like that." As we drove home, I thought about how one day at the zoo had changed so much. Amanda still hosted her perfect family events, but now there was an unspoken understanding. Excluding my children would mean missing out on the genuine enthusiasm and knowledge they brought to any gathering. The twins' zoo badges now hang proudly in their room, next to photos of them teaching their cousins about wildlife. They're reminders that sometimes the best response to exclusion isn't to fight back or give in. It's to create something better. Something genuine that no amount of perfectionism can compete with. And if Amanda ever forgets that lesson, well, we still have that tour guide's report, complete with security footage, safely stored away. But somehow, I don't think we'll need it. After all, the truth about who really belongs has a way of revealing itself, one genuine moment at a time.